Do you know what XBRL is? I am Navit Senaratne, an undergraduate of University of Kelaniya. When we were visiting the Colombo Stock Exchange website to do our assignments, we saw that the Colombo Stock Exchange is going to implement a thing called XBRL. Isn't that right, Bhagya?
Yes, Navit. We came here to interview Mr. Rajiv Bandaranayaka, and let's see what is this. Sir, firstly, thank you for our accepting for our humble invitation. And sir, can you provide an overview of why the Columbus Stock Exchange decided to implement XBRL?
So we'll first consider what XBRL is. So it's called Extensible Business Reporting Language. So as you know, accounting is about recording of financial transactions. So what XBRL does, that it converts or translates it into a digital format of reporting. So why we as a stock exchange thought that it is useful to move to a XBRL standard is because currently listed companies furnish their financial statements in different formats. There is no uniform format. So when you take it from the perspective of a investor, it is a bit difficult for comparability and also for analysis. But if you have it in a standard template, standard format, it is easy for investors and anybody who uses financial data to analyze it, to compare it with among companies, etc. So this is about a standard template, and that's the reason why the stock exchange thought we should move into this is a global standard into XBRL standard.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So, what benefits do you foresee for listed companies and investors with the implementation of XBRL?
Yeah, so it will increase transparency in reporting. Second is accessibility to information, and thirdly is about comparability. So now when you have an XBRL format, it will allow investors to analyze the financial data and compare it with peer companies. If you're analyzing one company, you have the ability to take the information and take it into a spreadsheet and then analyze that with comparable other investments that you have in other companies. So comparability is a key benefit that any investor would have. Then also accessibility. Since it's in a digital format, it can be shared very easily among different parties and can be transmitted also easily and stored easily, and also record keeping and archiving. So that is another benefit. So there are a lot of benefits in a standardized manner of having financial statements and financial reporting of companies.
Sir, could you walk us through the key stages of XBRL implementation process at CSE?
So we are in the preliminary stages of implementation of XBRL. So right now, what is now happening is we are preparing the taxonomy, which is a kind of a framework for XBRL. So we have got together with the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, and the institute will prepare the taxonomy for the XBR implementation in Sri Lanka, because they are the standard setter. So they do the accounting standards. So they need to come up with the framework and the standard and the taxonomy for us to implement XBRL. So that's the first step, and that is now being worked on, right? So thereafter, the second stage will be looking at a system. Now there are multiple systems around, system providers who will provide the system for the for implementation of XBRL. So then we need to go and source a suitable system, look at the funding of it, how it can be funded. There are different ways of funding it. For example, the stock exchange can fund it, the SEC can fund it, and then give it free to listed companies. Or there's another way of charging listed companies for it, so per company. So there are different options of how one can do it. So that will be the next stage where fit the system into place. And then there is this education role of it, where you you train train the user how to use it. For example, listed companies, how they are going to upload the information, how we're going to develop the templates. So that process has to happen, and thereafter only we will go in for the testing and implementation of it. So there are several stages that we have to go through. So it's probably a 1 to 2 year project which we have just commenced.
Sir, how will XBRL impact the reporting and compliance process for companies listed on CSE?
So XBRL will overall improve the standard of reporting, in the sense that there will be a standardized manner in which companies report their financials. Secondly, since it's in a digital format, the speed in which it can be loaded and transmitted is there, which will improve and assist companies in terms of complying with deadlines and timelines for submission of accounts. Secondly, it will give convenience for listed companies because they will have a standardized format in which they can upload that information. Then, from the perspective of investor, again, the investor will have the benefit of analyzing financial statements of companies in a standardized format, where again, which I alluded to earlier, is about comparability. So it will be beneficial mostly for investors and any other users like researchers, stockbrokers, etc., who use this information for investment purposes to use this information, download it in any format that they like, into a spreadsheet, for example, and use that information for investment purposes. So across the value chain, whether you're talking investors, whether you're talking about listed companies, whether you're talking about regulators like the stock exchange, SEC, or even for the stock exchange and SEC, once it's in a standardized form, it's very easy, because the information, every little bit of information in the financial statement is tagged and logged. So there is a unique definition for each of the line items in the financial statements. So to that extent, the reporting becomes uniform. So we're talking about profit and loss, whether they're talking about a balance sheet item, there will be a uniform terminology which will be used across all the users. So I think it will overall have a very significant impact in the manner which we do reporting, and it will overall improve the disclosure standards in our market.
So my final question to you is, sir, are there any future enhancements and additional functionalities planned for the XBRL system at CSE?
Now, we have still not implemented the XBRL system, so it's a bit too early to comment on future enhancements. I think we need to really get the initial framework completed and implemented. XBRL was initially introduced somewhere way back in 1998 by a person called Charlie Hoffman. Actually, he's an accountant in Washington who came up with this concept of XBRL. Since then, it has gone through a development process, and it is what it is today. So we are in the very initial stages of preparing the taxonomy, the framework for it, and then getting the systems done. So I think once we start using it, I'm sure there will be feedback that we get from companies, from users, from investors. Based on that feedback, we will then go for certain enhancements. This is something that has continuous improvement, continuous development. So I'm sure your question is about future enhancements. There will be future enhancements, but we probably will have to get the first cut of it going, and then depending on the feedback that we get, we probably will go for future enhancements.
Thank you, sir, for answering those valuable questions. I believe that the investors and the other stakeholders who will hopefully see this video got a good understanding of what XBRL is. And once again, I would like to humbly thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.